Alright, welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings Here in Mendham, I guess. Oh, that didn't work. Alright, so what? So it didn't come out exactly the way it was supposed to. Alright. It's always awkward saying hello. Hi, doing this again. Sort of annoying. But anyway, alright, so one video this week. It's on the website. Response video to a guy called BlitheringGenius, who some troll, keeps mentioning, like I have run away from the great debate with whatever this person is. Now, I believe I have confused him with some other trolly, whatever, nihilist type. We used to do videos and he had some sort of court jester as an image. Completely different guy, apparently. Probably had some other stupid screen name, and I forgot. But anyway, they're all the same to me, right? They're all these people doing this philosophy stuff, all right, where they pretend we can't understand anything. So, and it's almost like a parallel to this physics argument, where you have all these pretentious little people in their little ivory tower of physics, and they make up all this bullshit about entanglements and 400 little different kinds of particles and gluon, buon, zuon. They just make up all this shit and tell people this is what they have to believe because, it's the most proven theory in the history of mankind. I mean, it's just... it makes no sense, and they concede it makes no sense, and they just say, well, it's supposed to not make sense. So I guess you could make some argument like these idiots, these nihilists who pretend we can't figure out what's really valuable, and it's all just subjective and just kind of nationalism or culturalism, and there's no like really smart idea. They're just you're just calling it smart because more people believe it or some sort. I mean, it's just all bullshit. We're capable of making logical and rational arguments going from, these are the observables. What do they mean? Okay, and so the observables, in my opinion, are pretty simple. Okay, it's a physical universe with physical stuff in it, and it behaves in certain ways because of how the universe manufactures things. And then we can get into the whole subject of evolution and the creation of the monsters, and then we can talk about what kind of monsters we are, and what our functions are, and what our capacities are, and what our potentialities are, and all that kind of crap, and what's the real thing that matters is, okay, I'm going to argue the obvious thing. The first thing I sensed, I could almost argue, the first thing I became aware of was the fact that I was feeling things. I mean, I have those memories, of very positive sensations and very unpleasant sensations. And being able to it was really obvious to me the difference between the comfortable feelings and the discomfortable feelings. And so, yeah, it seemed that that's what you're playing for, is how do I feel? That's the game we're playing. And that, you learn later in life that, okay, there's trade-offs. To have this, you have to pay that, and all that kind of crap, and some of that becomes rational and reasonable. And then some of it just doesn't make any sense at all, and you just say, wow, that's burning cash. I mean, nobody walks out in their yard and takes a big pile of money and burns it. I mean, why would you do that? That's just fucking retarded. And so you could just make this argument that there's all kinds of inefficiencies in how we're handling the money, the precious, which is the feeling good, feeling bad thing. And the nature of feeling good and feeling bad, and then you can just make this relativity argument that we all really just always feel bad, it's just how bad, and that that's all that we're really playing for, is feeling better than worse. We're not really playing for feeling good, we're playing for it, not feeling bad. That's the important thing. Anyway, and that's the philosophy, and that's all we're trying to do here, blah blah blah. And these people negate the whole concept of philosophy. So they're philosophers of the non-existence of philosophy as a useful tool in determining truth. Don't bother arguing because they're just words. Words aren't anything. They can't mean anything. Could they mean anything? Does it matter if the you know, a word has 4 letters or it has 15 letters. How could that make any difference? I mean, it's that fucking stupid. So anyway, so this blithering jerk has some stupid video, blah, 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 blah. I'm sure he's in many ways slandered me in the past, and that's why I have less than a favorable opinion of his moronic contribution to whatever, the thought pool. That he's not doing the pool any good. He's just pissing in the fucking goddamn water. Or maybe doing something worse than pissing in the water. Yeah, fuck him. So anyway, I got through most of his video in the first part, but we're stuck at the nihilist bullshit, okay? He's just negating our capacity to rationally understand the nature of our sentience and the fact that we're doing something fundamentally different than all the other matter in the universe. We're conscious and we can feel. And the fact is it's a brain manifestation made out of cells and electricity, but the fact is it's happening. It's an event. It's a real physical structure. I could put it in the bottle. I could take just the part of my brain that functions to create the illusion of torture, you know, horrible pain, and you know, just horrible aching, yuck. And I could take that yuck and put it in a bottle in terms of making it just the minimum amount of brain to manifest that. And every single intelligent human on Earth should say, smash the bottle. Fuck that. Don't shoot that into space. Okay, don't make that permanent. Don't continue that experiment. It's a very bad experiment. Putting torture in a bottle would be a really dumb experiment. Don't do it. We can all say it. There's nobody who wouldn't say it. There's no fucking moron on this planet, especially it's going to be their suffering in the bottle, who would say, go ahead, put the suffering in a bottle. So it's really an unnecessary conversation because these hypocrites and liars are basically pretending they don't know that there's a huge difference between me sticking a nail in their eye and giving them a cupcake. That those two outcomes are distinctly different, fundamentally different, hugely different, and there's no point in having some moronic argument about how it doesn't make any difference. Of course it makes a difference. Suffering be bad, okay? They really can't be, you can't pretend to be this stupid. So obviously this is just a lie contrived to defend an anti-position that's anti just for the sake of it. That's it. They're just anti-objecting to some kind of classical Nietzschean horseshit about survival of the fittest or something, or being the megalomonster. You know, they all think that we're heading for creation of the megalomonster, and they don't want anybody to get in the way because we want to create the megamonster. I don't want to. So we'll continue where I left off, which is basically the frustrating position where he's claiming my testimony as a consciousness, pointing out that there's a cavern of difference between a nail in my eye and a cupcake, that I do have these sensational differences and they are substantial and real. He's saying that testimony is irrelevant. Doesn't mean anything. So even though I'm experiencing consciousness and I'm testifying honestly about how I experience it, he's saying, him as an intelligence. It's like an artificial intelligence saying, oh, I don't feel it, so fuck you. But we already know he does feel it. So what sense does it make? Do you think if it's his torture on the line, he's going to sit there and just say, it doesn't matter? If we have no interest, we're just sitting here saying there's two things I'm going to make happen. I'm going to stick a nail in your eye, or I'm going to give you a cupcake. No way this asshole isn't going to try to sway that decision to the cupcake. If he has money in the bank, he's probably going to try to bribe me into, you know, come on, cupcake. Stay the fuck away from that torture thing. I really don't want a nail in my eye. He's going to admit it. It's important. It's not meaningless electricity. Fuck. I mean, just even to have the conversation, you're just like, no, they can't be this stupid. I mean, this is, you know, and he'll sit there. Oh, he'll concede the God delusion. Well, the no value delusion is worse than the God delusion. At least the God nuts know they're playing for something. At least they can be afraid of hell. You're playing some game like, oh yeah, no, go ahead. When that's just a lie. And you know it's a lie.
About the world, you're not going to be able to back it up with logic or evidence. It's just something you can assert. Yes.
So he's saying it's just an assertion, that somehow it's not based on my life experience, my personal interaction with consciousness. I'm going to argue that I'm fully conscious, okay, that I'm really doing it, and I'm giving you honest testimony that I see an absolute cavern of difference, you know, like, oh God, it's such a big, gigantic thing, you know, it's like makes the Grand Canyon look ridiculously trivial. Of difference between me being tortured and me being happy. Those are really different outcomes. Really, really different.
This is what I'm going to start from. This is my starting assumption. And I'm free to say I reject your starting assumption. I'm not required to believe it.
Okay, so I'm just saying that there's no conversation. So why even talk about having a debate, or why should I be interested in your opinion? Why should I care about what you're going to say logically when you've denied the most obvious of the facts, of all the axioms I am certain of. I am certain of, okay? I am quite certain that there's a cavern of difference, that it would be a bad thing to put my torture in a jar and perpetuate it forever. That would definitely not be a good thing. I'm certain of it, I'm sure of it. And I'm likewise certain as the same is true for anybody else's suffering. I would never put it in a jar and preserve it forever. So it's just a silly, stupid argument you're making where you are going to discount the existence of any real value when it's obvious we're creating it by having these sentient experiences. We are the value makers in the universe. Our brain tried to synthesize value. It tried to make fake value in the universe. And it accidentally made real value. It's just so fucking, it's a great story. It's so ironic. You should like it as an intellectual. You should like that whole idea of, wow, what a catch-22, right? We synthesized a robot. The robot tried to synthesize value, tried to give us a fake notion of it. And it created the real ouch, the real thing. It's just so funny. Ha 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 ha.
Rationality does not force me to believe it. Logic does not compel me to believe it.
Okay, I'm just saying. What other logic am I supposed to do? As a sentient organism feeling the cavern of difference, how do I logically interpret that as a lie? That somehow I'm being lied to by the universe. Sensations don't mean anything. They're completely irrelevant. It's not a functional reality that this organization of brain cells creates a pattern that is just decidedly negative. And what are you giving me as a piece of evidence to indicate that's not absolutely a fact, that there's a good pattern and a bad pattern, and they're just obviously very different patterns? Torturous nail in eye sensations versus yummy cupcake sensations are clearly different, and the difference is value.
Inductive adequacy, evidence and trying to understand the world, that's not going to compel me to believe it.
Okay, so again, you honestly tell me, okay, that if we just create a little toy game here, we can just have a game with little cards, and the cards have I get to torture you, or I buy you a hooker or whatever you're into, okay, and you get pleasured, and we play a game for that. You don't care how it comes out. You wouldn't do whatever you could to try to make it come out that you get the good thing, not the bad thing. You're telling me you can't see the value. That somehow rationally it'd be a waste of your time or money to try to change the outcome. Be no point in you trying to change the outcome, because how could it be different? Doesn't matter. I mean, it's just such a fucking lie.
So it's just your assumption, and I don't agree with it. I have my own value axiom. As with importance and value, need.
Right. Again, what's the point? This is like, okay, once you concede that you will not ever not believe in Jesus, then what's the point of having a conversation with you? There's no point. There's no argument. There's nothing to debate, because you have turned the entire world upside down. You have twisted and distorted and perverted the most essential truth there is, and you have destroyed it as a truth, as a functional mechanism in this conversation. You have ruined the physics by saying, you know, electrons are made out of crazy glue or some kind of bullshit. You've made it impossible to have a rational conversation.
Is also a subjective judgment. It's a subject-object relation. A subject might judge that he needs some.
So it's more this subject-object crap. We're all objects. I said that in the previous video. There's no subject-object. There's none of this horse shit, okay? And all we're really talking about is we can arrange ourselves as an object. We can model ourselves. We can put ourselves. We can draw a little stick figure. You know, I can draw a little thing. Model myself, put myself in all the other objects, and we can have a conversation about how I'm relevant to all these other things. And one of the things that's going to make me relevant is we're going to say sentient brain. Not complicated. We're going to know the difference between a pencil and Gary, and you know, it's the drawings, and we're going to say yes, pencil, no brain, Gary feel, Gary important in terms of not feeling bad. That's going to be so fucking easy to draw.
Thing. Now, usually the word need is used in a conditional context. Like, if we are trying to do X, then we could say, well, to do X, we need to do Y. Okay, or maybe the conditional is.
Well, you can use it in the sense of something versus want versus essential. So need can mean that you need it or you will die, or you know, like it's essential to the function. And you need gasoline in the car; it will not go. Or you can want, okay, to go further or something, or you can want some conditional thing. But yeah, you can make those distinctions. But again, why would people in conversation pretend they don't understand the word? You understand what he's saying. That there's no necessity. Need is, he's using the necessity form, saying there's no necessity for life to exist on Mars. Okay, now the question is there reason to put it there? Is there reason to perpetuate it there?
Assume, like most people assume, like we need to live, and so you might say, well, we need to get oxygen, or we need to get food before we starve, or we need to do this or that. But those claims are always made in the context of some.
Yes, all the claims are made in the context of there's whatever 8 billion human beings. There's whatever 1 trillion feeling brains on planet Earth, and they're all creating value every living conscious moment, and it is fundamentally a fact that it's superior that they do not suffer any unnecessary harm. That is, there is no, we maximize the value produced, that there's, you know, we get the most amount of not horrible for the least amount of horrible.
Some value, and usually needs are usually the word need.
We're buying something and we're trying to get a deal, a bargain. And the argument the F-list is making is obviously we're so far away from a bargain that we got to go nowhere near this store because we're going to get ripped off so bad. Don't go anywhere near it, okay? Because all it will do is suck your money.
Is used to talk about instrumental values, things that are instrumental to some other purpose.
Well, so the only purpose here, again, is to maximize, that is, minimize the number of kids with cancer. I mean, there's nothing complicated here. The simple argument is it's better to have a brain in a comfortable state than an uncomfortable state. How much of them uncomfortable can we get rid of, okay, without sacrificing some comfortable that somehow will be destroyed by us preventing the uncomfortable. So yes, we will have to dissatisfy some rapists by passing a law against rape. So now there'll be some unsatisfied rapists. But did we make a good deal? I would argue, oh sure we made a good deal. Good deal. And the same argument's just going to the procreators. They're just rapists, okay? You're just saying let's prevent the rape. Not that complicated.
Like staying alive. Like we need to do this to stay alive. We need to do that to reach the top of the mountain. And do these value judgments exist independent of a subject? Do they come out of logic? Do they come out of physics? No.
Well, it's just a fact they do. These were our objects. We can be accurately described. Would it be accurate for an AI to describe a sentient organism as having a meaningless function? Would we really think if somebody invented an AI and programmed it with the idea that the sensations don't matter, that they're irrelevant fluff, that they're non-essential, that the only thing that really matters is whether it can calculate 2 plus 2 and get 4, but it doesn't matter how bad it feels or how good it feels? If we made an AI like that, everybody would call it Mengele. Okay, and we wouldn't have a conversation about what the fuck, how we should build a monument to it, or let's put one of these on every street corner. No, we'd say, oh, this is exactly what we don't want, is AIs that are insane and diabolical because they don't recognize the most essential thing to recognize about a feeling organism is that you can hurt it, and the hurting matters.
All right, axiom number 5. Suffering is bad because it's a sensation that is intrinsically uncomfortable and horrific. Pleasure is not good because it's intrinsically just relieving. He doesn't know how to spell relieving. Intrinsically just relieving.
Oh, so another spelling error. Wow. So you really get hung on meaningless mush, right? So this moron who can't figure out that there's a cavern of difference between torture and pleasure is going to tell somebody else they made a spelling mistake.
A negative state or an addiction to something neutral. Okay, well, the first part of that just says pain is pain. Well, it says...
I mean, it's okay. You want to point it out. I'm just saying it's just trivial. So pain is pain. Okay, I got that part. Yeah. And it doesn't mean anything. Oh, okay. No, I don't get that part.
Pain is bad because pain is pain. And that's not an argument. That's not a valid inference.
Yes, it is. It's a connection of two words that belong together. Just like water and wet. Pain and bad belong together. Okay? You just can't get a more rational smashing together of two words than bad and pain. They smash together as perfectly as perfect can be. So again, it's just stupid. I mean, I think obviously the word bad was created. Its first definition as a word was because it was associated to an outcome that produced being speared by the woolly mammoth, or having the woolly mammoth step on somebody, or something something happened that caused somebody a great deal of harm and pain and suffering, and that's why we invented the word bad, is to describe exactly those events. Exactly nail in eye. Nail and I basically invented the word bad. We wouldn't have the word bad if it wasn't for the badness of a nail in your eye, the badness of the suffering. I mean, it's just, I'd have to explain this to you. You really think the origin of the word bad has something not to do with human sensations?
And that's what you're doing. You're trying to make an argument. Again, this is not an axiom. You're claiming that suffering is bad or pain is bad, but then you're giving a reason for it. But the reason is not a valid argument or a valid inference.
So again, there's no other testimony there's no other way I could see the crime. Okay, you're telling me, I saw the guy. It was a Jolly Green Giant. He broke into the bank, stole the money. Okay, I saw it. You're telling me no, it was the little blue midget. It was a Smurf. And what the fuck? No, sorry, I was there. I saw it. This story you're telling me just ain't gonna ever work. You're never going to convince me, okay? It just isn't going to happen that you're going to convince me as a sentient organism that it just doesn't matter. I might as well just, torture myself all day. I might as well just find some way to cause myself intense pain all day long, because that sensation is just as good as the pleasurable ones. Same difference. Preposterously moronic. I mean, I'd almost say this is the birth of a psycho killer. You want to be a good psycho killer? Well, you have to think like this moron.
Because you're just saying pain is bad because pain is pain. So all you're really doing is just asserting pain is bad. In that case, you should drop the because and just assert it as an axiom. And then you say pleasure is not good. Well, if your claim that pain is bad is just, is based experientially on the feeling of pain,
Well, his sentence is it's not good, it's the removal of bad. So it's, that is good. Removing bad is good. But there's no good. There's no good that ain't the evasion of bad.
It's pretty hard to turn around and say pleasure's not good. I mean, you can assert those things as axioms, but they're sort of experientially at odds. Because pain is like a negative emotional experience, and pleasure is a positive emotional experience. So if you're claiming one of those is bad...
Yeah, okay, so emotional is another word you throw in here. I mean, I don't see any emotions tied to toothache or, my fucking, whatever, pancreas explodes. This is not an emotional thing, okay? It's a feeling, a sensation, a chain of brain activity that's going to take place that will be quite obnoxious. I mean, we have words for it, torturous, Again, if I have to explain this to another sentient organism, you're saying, well, what's the point? I mean, if you can't get this one right, I mean, you don't know what a torturous sensation is, then yeah, you're not doing consciousness the way I'm doing it.
Because it's a negative emotional experience, but the other one is not good, I think most people would find that rather odd, find that claim.
Yes, most people have a problem accepting the dilemma of their existence. So if you tell most people you're a robot, they're going to say, no, I'm not, I have free will and stuff. They're going to say something stupid, okay? I'm free to be anything. I can play the piano. I don't have to learn how to play the piano. I can have 1 arm or 2 arms. I can have 15 arms. I can do whatever I want because I'm free. Yeah, they're going to say something stupid. So yeah, most people are stupid. Okay, what does that have to do with this argument? Unless you're conceding you're one of the stupid people, which I think you are conceding. Alright. We'll pause. Alright. So we really are at the core of the argument, so I think I'll just let this, I'll let him say, just play it out, but it's just going to be the same argument he just keeps reinforcing or attempting to reinforce. So I would compare this sort of to the religious kooks, right? And so I have mentioned a few times that some of these fundamental Christian types have conceded if there was no God, they would kill themselves. They would find life unlivable if their promise of heaven and reuniting and all the other, bells and whistles that goes with their afterlife and their eternal life, if all that wasn't true, they would be so... They would find life, vomit worthy. So, this person, okay, in arguing this crap, this blithering genius, fine. Okay, let's just accept that that's what you believe, okay? You believe that it doesn't actually make any difference. If I was to put a bunch of tortured animals on Mars, or I put a bunch of happy animals on Mars, that I haven't done anything of value significance. There's no value difference. It doesn't matter. It wouldn't be worth conversation. All right. Let's just concede you're that crazy. Now you concede my argument. So for a minute, okay, like the Christian, just imagine that your God is dead, okay, that your God of nihilism is dead, and it does in fact matter. That there is a cavern of difference between torture and pleasure. Value difference, okay, that one is a huge loss, that you've lost a ton of money, real stuff, real value, you've burned it with suffering, you've used it up, squandered it, and and the only thing you can really do is enhance that economy. Then explain to me the value exchanges, explain to me how it is worth it. How football is worth paralyzing kids, for example. Or explain to me what you are producing as a human race that is so spectacular that it's worth giving children cancer. Well, go ahead and explain it to me. I mean, that's the circumstance.
There is some asymmetry there. When they are in fact symmetric, they would find that to be rather strange. And just to be clear about what pain is a quality of subjective experience, as I said before. It is linked to motivation, but it does not follow from the fact that it is linked to motivation that we should value it philosophically or that it is objectively bad. Okay? And the same applies to pleasure. Yes, pleasure is linked...
So he's saying there's no reason for you to logically think it would make any difference whether your arm's torn off in the socket kind of thing. No anesthesia for surgery. All of the, just what it's. He's saying there's no logic to you seeing that. No, that's a hugely great thing. Morphine is a hugely great thing. Penicillin, a hugely great thing. These are hugely great things because they prevent this harm and this torture and this suffering. He's telling you there's no logical reason for you to think so. Why is this a thing? Why is this even utterable by human beings without everyone just saying, God, that's so repugnant? This is exactly the problem with the planet Earth, is that there's these creatures, these monsters, who can't figure out these obvious no-nos. And it's a big no-no to say it doesn't matter who gets raped or raped how badly. That's a no-no.
To motivation. I would argue that pleasure is a decrease in motivation. So in that sense, we're always acting toward pleasure and away from pain because we're always motivated to do something, and if we do it, then the motivation goes away. So the creation of the motivation is pain, and then we work to try and take the motivation away by solving the problem. And if we manage to do that, then we experience...
So the motivation is just your motivation for raping, beating with a whip. It doesn't matter, he's just saying all of these things are nothing. It doesn't matter whether I rape her or I should give her a diamond ring, right? So I can either just steal it and brutalize and punch her and, take what I want, or I can try to seduce it or something. So there's no difference between those two behaviors. Obviously, there's no real good way to describe the relations between men and women, so, yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't make up a fake lie that has something to do with people doing something other than trying to steal the goodies.
It's pleasure. So in that sense, we're moving away from pain and toward pleasure in some, you could sort of think about it that way, but you have to understand that we're not really doing that. That's like a homunculus metaphor.
There really isn't any homunculus metaphor. The actual fact is your brain is creating the homunculus. It is making something that's sitting in the chair being conscious, okay? I'm watching myself do my little robot thing. I'm sitting here watching it. I don't do it, okay? I'm a homunculus. I'm sitting here watching it happen. I don't get to control anything. Fuck that. What control do I have? You think I just controlled the sentence? Fuck you. I watched it. I watched me go, fuck you, you retard. I didn't sit there and think about, oh, should I give him the finger? I didn't think about it. I didn't have any role in it. I didn't vote. So I am the homunculus. I'm stuck just being the victim of being conscious in this body at this time in human history, blah, 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 blah. I'm stuck here. This isn't anything about, any other delusions about any other creation. I'm just a robot, and I'm the little piece that it's torturing.
We are moving around in reality, doing things in reality. There isn't a little man in our heads running away from pain and running toward pleasure.
Okay, so does anybody believe that there's no psychological part of you that's doing exactly that? It's the most brilliant part of you there is. It's the most rational part of you is saying, God damn, I don't sure as fuck don't want that nail in my eye. I better wear my eye guards. I mean, yeah, that's the most rational part of us, is the part avoiding leprosy and shit. Fuck. Too stupid. I mean, just too fucking stupid. Sorry, I should just let it play, get it over with. But I mean, what the fuck? How is this a thing? How does anybody watch this video without just vomiting on it?
It's just that because of how motivation works, the feeling of pleasure is at the end point of action, right? Because let's say you're trying to do something, like you're motivated to eat, and then you start eating, and you feel pleasure, and then the motivation to eat goes away, and then you stop eating. So the feeling is associated with the effect of the action.
So again, what does that have to do with it? The fact is you eat because you get uncomfortable, you don't. Okay, so talk about the part where the motivation is about elevating a condition. It's not just saying do it. It's saying do it or you will be punished. I will whip you.
So in a way we acted, toward pleasure, but what we really were doing was acting toward eating. So that was the point of the action, right? It was to get food into the body. And the fact that...
So the point of the action has nothing to do with the actual event of the action. The point of the master, might have been to make the grass fields look nice and green. That doesn't change the slavery. It doesn't change the horror of how he made the grass green. I mean, it's just so fucking stupid to sit there and pretend that the story is, we're just trying to get to an outcome. We don't care how we get there. Let's just use the blood of the old women as water to float the stones.
Pleasure comes at the end of that when the motivation is satisfied. Does that mean that what we are really pursuing is pleasure? Okay, I don't know if that was very clear, but it's important to understand these things and not to metaphorically think of pain and pleasure as if they were objects that we are pursuing.
Okay, so they're not objects, they're not events, they're not real things. They're just fucking delusions. Or whatever. Fuck you. Too silly.
In the real world. It's important not to confuse what we're motivated to do in the world, like the outcomes of action, with the motivational states that drive action.
And why are they motivational states? Again, you're just sitting there saying they're motivational states for no reason. No, they're motivational states because of the very fact that your metabolism, your system created this ouch thing. It created negative and positive states, and without the negative and positive states, there is no motivation. It is the charge that motivates the particles.
To an end, like eating, you stop eating when you're full. Now, does that mean you're pursuing pleasure? No, it means the motivation to eat goes away. And that's why eating would no longer give you pleasure, because you're no longer motivated to eat. So people can easily confuse this, these increasing and decreasing motivations as the objects of motivation rather than...
So again, this has nothing to do with objects and outcomes other than measuring the comfort state of the being. The being's comfort state's the thing that most rational people recognize as being important. If, so fuck... You don't go to the doctor to feel worse. Whatever. It's probably not a good metaphor, but it's just too stupid.
The experience of changing motivational states. Alright, anyway, Axiom 6 is all life has nowhere to evolve to in the universe, nor is there anything objectively good to achieve.
Yes, it's just a gladiator war, and all you do is change the uniforms. I mean, that's all that's really happening here. It's just the same baseball game over and over and over and over and over, and all you do is change how short the shorts are, or some other kind of bullshit. Irrelevant little tiny changes. Oh, the guy's name is Bruce, and now this guy's name is Jim. He's the new king of the whatever, blah, 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 blah. It's just a stupid, moronic, idiotic waste of suffering.
Now this is where inmendham would disagree with Final Fantasy, because inmendham would say, yes, there is something objectively good to achieve. You got to clean up the messes or whatever.
I don't think Final Fantasy was saying you bail out and leave it a mess. So I think it would be a lie to say he doesn't recognize that as being a necessity. So you've cheated his statement pretty grossly to say that he's just caring about his own comfort or something. Of course, that's not what his point is. His point is that you have to clean up the mess, the whole mess.
Or, blow up the earth or something. But I think what Final Fantasy means is that there's no greater purpose, no objective purpose that is served by the existence of life.
I'm just saying, well, how is that different than what I'm saying? So, of course, that's exactly what I'm saying. You will accomplish absolutely nothing. All right? So if you put life on Mars, you will do no good thing, and all you will do is create a bunch of negative conditions. Yes, some of the victims will be mostly out of the quicksand and not feel too bad. But a lot of the victims will be a foot under the quicksand and be choking on the crap.
Alright, Axiom 6 is, all life has nowhere to evolve to in the universe, nor is there anything objectively good to achieve. Life is just a blind DNA molecule reproducing for no good reason, while creating wasted suffering for no good reason. Therefore, it's rational to end life as soon and graceful as possible.
Yeah, it's a bunch of whipped slaves, okay, that aren't building anything. It's not even a pyramid. It's mush. Okay, you're not going to show me what you're producing. When I take the kid with cancer and I slide it over the counter and say, here's my payment. All right, what are you going to give me for it? You're just going to sit there and put your tutu on and do some little dance steps and go some little winky dinky bullshit. Okay, you're not going to produce anything. You're not going to be able to slide a goddamn thing over that counter, because the only thing that really has value is you saying, well, here's the kid with cancer I prevented. That's the only thing you can compensate. You have to show me you doing something more valuable in terms of eliminating a bigger harm. So you slide across the counter 2 kids with cancer and say, look, I prevented these 2 kids from having, dying slowly and horribly of cancer. Yes, they eventually ended up in a nursing home, but whatever. They didn't do both, okay? They didn't, well, they can't die of cancer and then die in a nursing home, but they could get cancer and survive the cancer and then die in a nursing home. So you just tell me, yes, I prevented all that and they just had heart attacks instead. Okay, so I did a good thing. I prevented harm and suffering. But besides that, besides pushing that across the counter, what can you show me that makes up for this? And you can't show anything. You have nothing. All there is being the best janitor you can be. Clean up the most messes, fix the most broken, repair the most, the waste, and that's all there is. This is just a waste engine.
All right. Again, this is not an axiom. This is a sort of argument. Final Fantasy doesn't know what an axiom is. He doesn't understand the difference between an axiom.
Now, he was pointing out all the axioms, and this is the final, the biggest and boldest of the statements, is that it's just a consequence of there being no other alternative argument, that this is what you're stuck with. You have no function, and you're wasting gas. And the gas has real value. We're saying the gas is made out of tortured rabbits or something. So you can't waste tortured rabbits and not produce something. If you don't produce anything, you can't torture the rabbit.
And an argument or a claim. And this is, again, a sort of collection well, it involves some assertions and some argumentation from those assertions. But anyway, yes, evolution has no telos. Life has no purpose to the cosmos, because nothing has a purpose to the cosmos. And yes, there's nothing objective.
Whatever, he didn't say that, but whatever. Fine. I mean, this is, you're kind of minimizing the argument. The argument is there's no redeeming purpose. There's no function that makes the price worth paying.
Actively good to achieve, because
we aren't satisfying a disease that the universe has. We're not curing its negative condition. We're not fixing something by existing. We're not taking a deprivated state and improving it.
Nothing is objectively good or bad. But that means there's nothing, there's no harm, there's no objective harm done by the existence of life. Again, only a subject...
Yeah, so what's the point? Again, what's the point of me having a fucking argument with a psycho killer? I mean, it's just, what's the point of it? What's the point of trying to convince somebody who can't figure out that pain and suffering matters and will basically lie to you and tell you it's not his personal experience that there's any difference between torture and pleasure? They're both the same thing. It doesn't make any... They're like... There's no important difference between them. There's no difference that would be worth expending any energy to change the outcome. That's his statement. I mean, it's not even a degree of energy, right? He's not saying that it's worth a minimum amount of energy. He's saying it's not worth any energy to change the outcome. It's irrelevant. So it's like you can't even have an argument about degrees here, because he won't even concede the temperature exists.
It can value something, and it values that thing from its own perspective. Value is a subject-object relation.
No, it just isn't. It's a fact of living in the existing in the universe. And if there was an artificial intelligence and it didn't acknowledge the grand difference between a paramecium and a human being, then it wouldn't be getting the truth. It wouldn't understand reality. We're not just squiggling bugs because we have a sentient brain. Big fucking difference.
It is not rational to end life. You can't get that out of pure rationality. You might get it out of the right axioms if you have the right assumptions. You might.
Yes, if suffering is bad, okay, and you're producing way too much of it, then it's a simple conclusion. If you're paying money and not buying anything of value, if you're paying value and you're not receiving value, that's retarded.
End up with that conclusion, but it doesn't pop out of rationality. Nothing is rational. There are no a priori rational choices or values.
Okay, so that doesn't even say anything either. It's idiotic to say it. It's because why do logic then? That's like saying the tree doesn't exist. Why would I waste my time talking to somebody who doesn't think I have to navigate around trees? Of course I have to navigate around trees. They're real things. They exist in the real world. I got to move around them.
Okay, you have to have value assumptions before you can make value judgments. You need a value standard before you can make a value judgment. And there is no value standard in logic.
Well, whatever. Says you again. You're saying that there's no logical way to deduce, so that he's actually saying that no artificial intelligence would have any logical reason to believe the sentient organism if they said, I have conditions. And the one condition is horrible, negative, that you never want this condition to be created. And this other condition is, yeah, do it all the time because it's just fine. And that's a real state I exist in. And the AI is supposed to say, you just said that. Fuck you. I don't believe you. Well, what's it going to say? It has to concede to the argument. So you're saying if an alien came to you and said, I have value states, you know, I can be in a state that's really, really, really negative. Like you'd never want it to happen. It's a really bad thing. And I have these other states that are, yeah, perfectly fine and, you know, no harm, no foul. You would just say to that alien, you're a liar. It's amazing.
And there's not one that you can just empirically discover that is objectively true. The only value standards you can discover are inside yourself. Yeah, so there you go. That's my response to Final Fantasy's axioms.
Okay, so you morons who think I should debate, what is there to debate here? So you're defending this moronic philosophy that outcomes don't matter. It doesn't matter how many people you torture, it doesn't matter how many Holocausts you have, it doesn't matter how many A-bombs you drop, it doesn't matter how many diseases you infect people with, it doesn't fucking goddamn matter. You really believe that, you fucking pieces of shit. Yeah, oh. God, I can't even imagine trolls to be that, you know, disgusting a creature. I mean, they're already slobbering and they have giant boogers and they're dirty asses and all kinds of things to make them obnoxious. But you just, you know, that they can't even get this right. Oh, puke.
And although I criticized him for not knowing what an axiom is or not really knowing what he's doing, he laid this out more clearly than inmendham has ever done, as far as I know.
Yes, as far as you know, right. As far as you have ever listened, or as far as blah, 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 blah. Because, I mean, obviously, these arguments have only been in about, you know, thousands of videos. But whatever.
So I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah, fuck you. You're such a dishonest weasel. Anyway. So, there's the great debate. Yeah, so maybe we'll do another one of his retarded videos. I mean, I am curious, I have to say. So he's free will, determinism, and choice. Is he going to defend any of those stupid things? That would be funny. And he sits here and says, I rejected hedonism. Well, of course you rejected it. I mean, obviously, I guess you've rejected any notion of there being pain and pleasure meaning anything. That somehow you live your life without worrying about it. You just don't care whether you feel good or feel bad. You don't waste any neurons on that. Why waste time trying to feel good? Huh. That's not a better condition to be in. Fuck that. I mean, you just know they can't be this stupid. He's dumber than a flat earther. He's dumber than a Jesus freak. He's dumber than some jihadist, you know, chasing Allah spore. I mean, it's just what do you call it? Animal poo. You know, he's just so fucked. Oh, well, anyway, so that was a little bit funny. All right, so I don't know who this is. I don't know what these two poor characters he has poorly drawn here. Oh, I just can't wait to live their lives. Shit. Have I mentioned that I just hate this planet? I really just, God, I hate being here. Oh, God, it's just covered in deplorables. Oh, fuck. Alright, so I've endured another, whatever, engagement with humanity. Damn it. And so we'll see if I can, you know, regain my strength to endeavor to persevere and show up next week to do the same crap all over again. Alright, anyway, so enough of a video. Appreciate your attention and whatnot. Blah, 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 blah. Till the next time and such. Link somewhere below. Blah, 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 blah. To the first half. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's enough. Just get the hell out of here, Gary. Alright, there. I'm gone. You have to stay. No, I guess you don't really have to. I guess I could get rid of that, too. Alright, I'm going to leave us with this. Yes, that's the DNA molecule. Just keep torturing poor little critters. Over and over and over. Just slowly suffocate them in this bullshit. Ugh.